It's on the waiting screen.
Mm-hmm. We're live on Instagram too. And we will be. All right, guys. What's up, everyone? Welcome to our first episode of The Owlgorithm. This has been a long time coming because JC and I have had these conversations internally with our team. And, for us, it's really an opportunity to share what's been lighting up our feeds, brand moves, marketing plays, creative campaigns that we see out there in the open, as well as, cultural trends and some interesting insights that we see out there in today's modern landscape. I'm David Verjano, and this is JC Perez. We're both partners at Cultura Creative. And we've just had these conversations internally, and we felt that it was a great opportunity to really share with the world. Every other week, kind of come together and bring to the table, what we see. Either way, we share it. We have it in our DMs, we have it in our various chats. But we feel like it's an opportunity to not only share internally, but with the world. And so, JC, I don't know if you have anything to say before we kick it off.
Yeah, that in specific, I think everything that we do at Cultura is always, like we say, through our lens and through our experiences and what we've experienced in our industries before Cultura and how we've gone through the world. And I think this is going to be the same thing. This is through our lenses, our experiences, and on a day-to-day basis, we're always sending each other things that are, like you said, on our feeds and in our stream. And this is an excuse to meet once more a week and talk shit about the world of marketing and the beautiful world of creative and business that we are in. So yeah, and also just a selfish excuse for us to get more content out and for personally and obviously as a business as well. So I think to wrap it up, that's what I got.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the intersection of like branding, business, and creative work in general. And it's stuff that excites us anyway. So, we always feel like it's worth sharing what's going on, because so many of these things change and are rapidly like evolving. So, I think it's just a good exercise in general to stay on top of this stuff, because, if you take your foot off the pedal and stop paying attention for a handful of months, you could be lost,
Yeah. Well, actually, as to that point, one of the topics we're going to cover today, I was in the kitchen and I was telling Mari, we're going to be talking about this person. And she's like, what do you mean they're out of the news? I'm like, no, she's back in the news.
Yeah.
she's back in. So it's just like, these things, they're rapidly revolving, and to get onto these topics and talk about them, like I said, with our taste and through our lenses is important for sure.
For sure. And kind of have the rundown here for us so that we could kind of keep track and, not go off the rails too much. But for the most part, we have a few things on the docket that we wanted to go through. One of them being, Cracker Barrel. Past couple of weeks, they've been very prominent in the news and on people's feeds, with the entire rebrand. But really what we'll focus on is the aftermath, the response, and kind of like the silver lining of that aftermath, which I think is very interesting, as well as a cool little campaign and collaboration that we saw Dude Wipes come out with the Philadelphia Eagles and their infamous Tush Push. And then, yesterday was actually the finale of Wednesday, and a little bit earlier, like prior to the launch, Cheetos had done a really cool activation / campaign that kind of, some people saw it, some people didn't. I just felt it was cool to kind of like jump in and show all the layers to a good activation that was done on that end. And then, as you were mentioning, Sydney Sweeney and, kind of like her deals and the different ways that she's kind of been in the news with these different endorsements and these different features on different campaigns. So there's a lot, definitely controversial side of it, but it's also like some insights that we can take away from the way that brands as well as she handles these kind of situations. And then we'll wrap it up with a couple instances of creative AI use cases, some some are just like funny content, and the others are like developments in the space from the tech side that are interesting to keep an eye on. And then, to kind of wrap it up as well is, diving into our brand identity process. Like whenever we try and analyze these things, like what lenses and what questions we ask ourselves, especially when we do it for clients. And then if we have time at the end, we'll have some Q&A that if you guys are on right now, you can definitely drop in and leave some comments on the chat, and we'll be able to answer them if we have some time. But without further ado, let's dive into it. So we'll kick it off with Cracker Barrel. As many of you know, they had a pretty rough time when they kind of announced the rebrand. I think it was just mostly a poor execution and poor communications, honestly, and just not done with enough customer insight and asking their customers what they feel would be. You can do a lot of these different study groups to kind of like understand what your customers are in tune with and what they're against, or what wouldn't work out before you go out and spend tons of money on a rebrand. So as you all saw, they announced a rebrand, but then they came back and they decided to revert to the original logo specifically. There's still other elements that you'll see that are prominent as part of the refresh, but JC, I don't know what your thoughts are here, and where you see the brand going moving forward.
Yeah, like we've discussed, I think to your point, very poor execution as far as like understanding who your demographic is and who your customer base is. It's very easy and very cheap nowadays to do a focus group. It's funny, you and I were talking about it yesterday. We were prepping yesterday, and we were looking at their X account, formerly Twitter, their X account, and the first post that they posted was this one. Yeah. Was this post. And I told you, right, that tells me everything right there. Like good businesses, good companies, especially these big brands, man, like the ones that are doing it well are very active on X for specifically customer service, and specifically like being able to get a pulse. Don't get me wrong, you can do that on all platforms, right? Instagram, making sure you're in the comments, making sure that you're reading the room when it comes to what people are saying about your brand. Like you're getting instant feedback on every social platform. But X, for whatever reason, has become for brands like this direct communication for customer service, for customer, like gathering the pulse on the customer. And for Cracker Barrel to have their first post be a pro disaster post, trying to connect with their customers, man, that just shows me everything I need to know about the current state of the brand and the current state of the communication within that organization, specifically on the marketing side. Like that, honestly, I had a lot of thoughts coming into it, but when we went over this yesterday, we kind of did our like little pre-op, if you will. Like I was like beside myself that this is the first post that they have on X. Like it just shows me everything. You're obviously not, you're not getting polls. You're not asking your consumer. You're not talking to your consumer on a day-to-day basis. Like you clearly don't know what your demo is, especially if you're not on X, because knowing Cracker Barrel's consumer, I know a lot of them are on X for sure, like 100%. So they're getting their sports on X, they're getting their news on X, like they're on X. So that is a platform that you really do need to be on. And again, not to highlight, X and make it all about that they weren't on this platform, but to me, that just told me a lot about their communication and where the status of their marketing department and their understanding of their demographic is at the moment.
Yeah, and I guess the silver lining here is that they actually did have a pretty decent response. Like the fact,
well done.
Yeah, and really the caption was that we accept returns exceptionally,
which is funny and well done. But too late. Like did you already ruin your true base and your true demographic? Like I don't know. It seems like they did. They've had a drop in walk-ins, and although from everything that all the research that we did was down 16% since 2019. Mind you, a lot of that is a COVID drop off, obviously, but down 16%. That's a big hit, you know. That's a big hit, and to spend over, I think it was $700 million in a complete brand revamp, including in-store interior redos. Like, that's,
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because when you're at that scale with the amount of locations they have, and the touch points that they have, you're completely refacing so many elements of a business, and these decisions need to be made with a lot of thought and care because it's an established legacy brand. And so for you to make a decision of this scale, you should be doing those focus groups and you should be asking these questions so that you don't fall flat when it actually comes out. And you know, some of you might have seen this already, kind of like a glimpse. This is a really small snapshot into the brand identity and the way they change it. Like, they obviously wanted to remove the character, and then they wanted to just focus on the word mark. They added a monogram, and then they used the barrel as a shape that they could, you know, put it as a container for the logo in different capacities, as well as like little phrases like the taste of country anytime. It's not terrible, honestly, but it's really about removing the soul and kind of shifting towards a little bit more of a minimalist aesthetic that then also removes the previous audience, the ones that have been going there and actually sustaining the business, that they feel like it's a completely different thing. Especially in the interiors, when you saw some of those photos, it was like it was supposed to be kitschy and have, you know, a mixed mash of things, and they kind of like tried going Marie Kondo in there and just like very much organizing it and making it all clean cut, and you that kind of defeats the purpose of what the space was designed to be like. It's supposed to feel like grandma's, you know, house, or like a little farmhouse that you went into. That it's kitschy. It's not supposed to be this clean cut, modernized feel. So yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts on it. I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, no, that's the exact aesthetic that you get, the feel, the nostalgia that you get when you walk in there and you're walking into the old country store, the old like general country store type deal, and then you know, that was the whole vibe of Cracker Barrel. Like, that's exactly what it was. And to your point, if like a brand comes to us and they already, let's say they already had their brand deck, right? Let's say it's a restaurant, they already had their brand deck and they hand us this. I'm actually really happy. It looks beautiful. It's very well done. It's very thought out. Like, this is a nice brand. It's just not Cracker Barrel. That's the point. You know what I mean? It's like, this is, you know, we have here locally, and we were talking about this earlier. We have, well, in Florida, I don't know how much they stretch out, but you have First Watch, right? You know, First Watch is very like, you know, that country modern type feel. You know, and you walk in there and it's not necessarily this, but it's a very similar vibe, and you got a very younger demographic that heads to First Watch, but that's not Cracker Barrel. That's not what you are. That's not what you've ever been in the last 60 years that you've been open, or 50 years that you've been open. Like, that is not what you are as a brand. And to me, like, there's ways of, and we're talking about this earlier, like, there's ways in leaning into a rebrand or a refresh and touching up without completely killing the brand and without completely cutting the legs off of your brand. And unfortunately, that's what they did. I mean, in the Cracker Barrel, they took out the barrel, and they took out Uncle Herschel is his name. I did the research today. So they took out Uncle Herschel and they took out the barrel. Like, I mean, come on, guys, you know? So yeah, I'm with you. Now, this is, riff on this, because this is also a huge part of this that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, and this is the part that I felt was not led with, which is it should have been more about how Cracker Barrel is expanding and refacing its food items, the CPG side of it, especially on the freezer aisle, and, you know, just in general a retail presence. This actually looks good on shelves and has, like, especially when you have a smaller kind of window to place the branding, it still comes off pretty authentically, and it's cohesive. And I think this was actually a good execution of the brand, the refresh. And I think that's what was missed in this entire conversation. You could have kept the locations the same, honestly, in terms of the logo on the outside, the kind of like wooden fixture and facade on the outside. I know that there's a movement towards modernism, and then it makes it more easier, I guess, to open new locations. Or if you have to close down, that now you don't have like all these
Sure.
facades you got to remove. So it's maybe like a real estate play in that sense, that they were trying
but
to
they
like,
own a lot of their real estate.
yeah,
Not all
I
of it,
don't
but
know the nature of that
they
side
own
of
a
it,
good
but I
amount of the
know
real
that
estate.
it's like, I think it's a big factor that, sure, even though it's not modern or easy to replace a location if it has all these facades, it's like that's also what makes it universal. I know that there's also brands that we know, like a Pizza Hut, that used to have the pitched roof and had that unique architectural feature, and you don't see that anymore. But in reality, it's like people have kind of strayed away from it, even though that has been something that they felt was better for them.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's pros and cons to all this. I just think that this is the part of the rebrand that was not talked about enough, and that should be considered as part of the holistic kind of move. Because this definitely, in my opinion, looks nice and cohesive within the brand. It doesn't feel like it's out of left field and not tied to the identity.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think that this is just not understanding, like on a macro scale. This is not just not understanding that you don't need to change your brand completely across the board. Meaning, you could have left this brand refresh for your retail stores, like these type of like prepackaged items and goods for the Publixes, the Walmarts, etc. You could have left it with this type of branding, like. People wouldn't have balked at that. Okay.
Yeah.
People wouldn't have balked at it. And you said it earlier. We were talking about, it's like, I look at it, I know it's Cracker Barrel. Like the look and the feel seems similar. And I like the simplicity behind it, especially on shelves. Like you see the names are bold. The images of the product are like, the pancake is there. The corn muffin is there. Like, that's a great product for shelves. Okay. And by the way, you could have probably gone away with taking out the barrel and Uncle Herschel. You could have probably gone away with taking them out for your consumer products on shelves, and kept the stores similar or the same. You could have gone away with that. Again, I just don't understand why this holistic modernization of the entire brand has to be the approach when you could parch it out. They're two different things. They're the same brand, yes, and you're gonna want connection. You're gonna want somebody to look at this and go, okay, that's Cracker Barrel. To what I was saying earlier, like, I think you still get that. Like, I think this is Cracker Barrel. I look at it, I know it's Cracker Barrel. You didn't have to change the stores. So, I think to kind of like wrap it up on that is, ultimately, I think that they didn't approach this the right way. I think that they are obviously still trying to figure themselves out in the modern era as a brand, and understand like where their touch points need to be, where their communication needs to be. If I were in a room with them right now, I'd tell them, get active on X, get active on Instagram, hear the noise, talk to people, be in your Instagram feed, be in the comment section, start talking to people, and win back the consumer. You have to be active, because you've done a lot of damage. There's obviously been a big downfall. Like, there's been some foot traffic loss in stores, even more so after this whole thing. I think there's been an uptick, and since they came out with the apology and whatnot, I think they had dropped like 7%, and then they went back another 7-8%. So they've been able to regain a little bit, but ultimately just a complete, like, utter disaster as a brand. Like chalk this up on what not to do as a brand. And ultimately, like, yes, the publicity is great, and good and bad publicity is still publicity at the end of the day. But when it comes to this, and it comes to branding, and when it comes to like connecting with your consumer, your true consumer, I think they dropped the ball here.
Yeah. I mean, to wrap it up again, like, they could have even led with the fact that the syrup bottle looks very similar to the ones that you would get at the locations, and they kept that design feature, and it extends into retail shelves now that way. And I feel like, these things got lost. Like, this is something that I didn't hear about until days later, and saw it that someone else kind of like dove into the actual applications. And so I think it was more of a communication issue, as well as they didn't parse out, how to kind of approach it. Like, you could have strictly just done this for retail and then kept a majority of the things in the store the same with small tweaks over time. And I think it could have been more of a progressive approach than like, hey, wholesale, this is all going to change, and it's all this whole vibe, which is what it came off to be like, So
I put in my notes earlier just to kind of like stamp this. Heritage brands must evolve, not erase. And I felt like they were more on the erasing than evolving here. And that's it's a very fine line. I get it. It's tough, man. It's not easy, but evolve instead of erase. And that was a strikeout as a brand.
Key example, that was definitely a strikeout, as was Jaguars, which was they completely erased. And that's like probably a tier above in terms of what
that might be the worst strikeout of all time.
So anyway, jumping into the next topic here, a little bit of sports focused topic here is Dude Wipes, obviously a male focused brand when it comes to wipes. I think they did a really smart collab here with the Philadelphia Eagles, who are known for their infamous tush push at the goal line when they need to get a touchdown, when they need to get that extra yard. Like, they're the best at it, or have been the best at it for the past few seasons. And just like, I think it's a great collab here. There was a no-brainer. Like, this is a great example for when you have a specific category, a specific kind of brand, and finding a partner that you could work with and be the official partner for these kinds of things. Like, this is, in my opinion, the home run, right? Like, this is, it's low pool. It gets exactly what you want across. You're talking to your audience. And I just think it was like, well done.
Yeah, 100%. So I actually have a little bit of a backstory on Dude Wipes. So I worked for a wet wipes manufacturer about 10 years ago, and I was on the sales and marketing department. And I led the way into our personal brands getting into retail. And at that time, I believe Walmart's still doing it. Walmart has a program where basically they want to buy American products. So you go very Shark Tank style. You have to enter into a bid, and then you go to Bentonville. They have like a whole week activities and events and stuff like that. And then you pitch your brand. You pitch your brand to your category buyer or the category manager. And we did that. We had actually 3 brands. We had female hygiene products. We had a wet wipe for females. We had a male hygiene product, which at that time went directly head to head with Dude Wipes. And then we had a baby wipe product. Our 2 male and female wet wipes didn't make the cut, but our baby wipes product did. As I'm leaving, I'm like on a high. Like, mind you, we've been at it for a week. We ended up selling Walmart on 100 stores in Texas. They opened up to 100 gates in Texas, and I'm leaving again. I'm on a high, and I hear, I'm passing one of the little stalls or whatever, and I hear Dude Wipes get the deal for Walmart. At that time, I think it was like 350 stores. Like, I'm hearing it happen. And mind you, again, like I said, Dude Wipes was our competitor. We had a competing. I say competing. We didn't really compete with them. They were just on another level. With that said, these guys are great. I've met them. I've been in the same events with them. They're literally dudes, like dudes. They are from Chicago, I believe. They're the coolest dudes, and they get it. They just get it. They get what their brand is. They don't take their brand too seriously. They look for low pull activations like this that just make sense, that nobody wants to get into, that nobody's even trying to get into. Like, and it goes to show you also like the lack of flexibility of these big brands, right? Whereas like the next, we'll talk about Cheetos moving forward, which showcases a lot of flexibility for a big brand, which is very rare. But the flexibility for big brands, this is rare for them. And Dude Wipes is not they're a big brand. They're a $300 million, brand at this point, but they're still small enough and they're still humble enough to be able to have the flexibility to dive into activations like this that just make sense for the brand. So this is a grand slam for me, man. This just makes sense. It's like you said, a low pull, probably didn't cost them much. As far as maybe licensing or whatever the case may be, like it didn't cost them much, but apparently they have stadium activations, product sampling in the stadium, as well as social content collaborations and whatnot. Like just such a win for a brand like Dude Wipes that, again, they've doubled. I have here in the notes, they've doubled since 2020 their sales, and that goes in part to their activations at Walmart. I believe they're in big box now, like BJ's and Costco, which obviously helps out. But a $300 million brand, this is just going to catapult them to another level, man. And again, they really do understand their brand, and this is just a home run, man. Grand slam, really.
We go watch the little video that the Eagles posted to promote it here.
Oh, you know what's coming. You know what time it is. I said, I'm going to talk my now. You know you can't stop it.
Everybody knows what's coming. They just can't stop it.
People can't do it like we can do it.
Yeah! Hell yeah!
The whole organization has confidence in this play.
It's just so simple. But
how simple is that?
Yeah.
Just a bunch of B-roll that already happened that you took from the team. Because you have the lights. Yeah, just so simple, man. All right,
and they already had the mascot. They had that suit, so they just needed someone to show up to the facility. So, and then the mascot for the Eagles show up, and you shot that on 1 or 2 takes, and you're good.
It's 100%. And look, it's what Carlos says in the comments too. Just a shout out to Carlos. Like, it's just they understand their audience, man. They know their demographics are dudes. Like, this is what dudes like to watch, and this is funny to us, and they know their brand. They know their demographic, Yeah. Beautiful. I love it.
Sure.
Grand slam for Dude Wipes.
100%.
And shout out to Dude Wipes, man. They've been at it for a minute. And that is just like to be in that arena, retail, going against the big brands, to be able to carve up a niche. Riches in the niches. Junior always says it, man. Riches in the niches. Like, to be able to carve up a niche that they have done, like, kudos to them. What a cool brand.
100%. And kind of moving forward into like the next topic here was the collab between Cheetos and Wednesday.
Love it.
Awesome. To promote both. It was really Cheetos kind of like leveraging this opportunity, knowing that the second season was coming out, and it was like an entire campaign that spanned from having Thing as part of the actual packaging on some of these limited run of bags, but it also extended into commercials and an activation in Times Square. And then we have here, it was like Goodby Silverstein was the agency behind it. And they kind of put together this little 30-second spot.
Thanks for coming in. We are huge fans.
So what did you think of the script?
Okay, let's try some acting. Give me joy. Oh, fear. Yes. Regret. Oh.
Just give us a bite and smile, and we're done.
Brilliant.
And smile.
Oh my.
Brilliant.
I think that went well. But yeah, it definitely,
again, simple.
Yeah.
Like, so simple. Such a simple commercial.
Yeah, and then really the next layer was the fact that they kind of took over Times Square for a day, and just all the cast of characters that you see in Times Square. So the man who like stands still, and if you get close to him, he'll move, and as well as like the guy who does the caricatures, they even activated him, and he had the little thumbprints with the powder there, and he's showing kind of like his POV of what it's like, and you can see here how they did it on the floor. They got a taxi cab, and they put the little tagline here, Thing was here. Just like it really took it to another level of like how many different ways they did it, and I think it was cool. I think here also there was just other ways. Actually, what was really cool was when they took over different ads that were being shown in Times Square, and I think they have a clip of it here at the end, which is just super interesting, like how they crossed beyond these two collabs.
That's wild.
Yeah, he broke
like
out
the logistics
of the
behind that.
Goes on to the Spotify ad.
That's wild.
Goes on to the Gatorade F1 ad.
Yeah.
They had to agree to this too, because it's basically like defacing their ads. I'm sure there was like some sort of.
Well, Cheetos is PepsiCo. That's how you do an activation, bro. That's a big boy activation. That's like the best of the best of the best doing it.
So you get the point. It's
The whole
just
thing.
well done, like thinking about the details, thinking about how many layers you can bring into the fold, so it's truly like an immersive thing. It's not just a billboard and you see it once and it's gone. It's like it's surrounding you at the ground level with the people, with the different cast of characters that you see on the regular in Times Square. So I think it was just really well done. Goodby Silverstein, obviously a big name in the agency world. They've been at it for a while, but these are just like things that, you know, any agency, any creative should take into consideration when you're talking about activating a brand and doing it right.
Yeah, especially at the scale, I think like what agencies and brands sometimes miss is it's the universe that you build, right? Like you said, it's the immersiveness, the universe that you're building. Like the brand, it's not just the brand, but also like, you know, the takeover. You are immersed in this world that Cheetos and you know Wednesday has created with this character. Like, I think it's done brilliantly. I think also it only could be done this way, like if you start with a very easy collaboration. What I mean by that is it just works. Like it just works. Like Cheetos, what's his name? Thing. Is it Thing? Yeah. Thing, you know, with the hands, with the fingertips. Like there's so many layers of it works there. It's nostalgic. We all grew up with the Addams family. We all grew up having Cheetos. We all grew up with our moms pissed off at us because we got Cheeto crumbs and the orange crap on the sofa. Like it just works. It's hitting so many different levels of that. And then when you take it and then when you scale it up, right? This at the helm of this is really Netflix and PepsiCo. Okay. Yeah. PepsiCo obviously owning Gatorade, obviously owning probably, you know, 95% of the brands that are showcased there in Times Square, and Netflix the same thing. So logistically, to be able to put it on, like, well done as well, because again, a lot of these brands when they're this big, and these agencies when they're this big, they don't have that flexibility to be able to tiptoe around logistically putting something like this on. But again, only if they do it right, and if you have everybody honed in, only a brand at the scale and an agency at the scale can pull something like this off, and just absolutely brilliant. Well done, understanding your demographic, and it feels right, just like the dude wipes and the Tush Push. Like obviously on a lot smaller scale, this just feels right, and I think that's why it works ultimately, because it fits. It's organic.
I mean, both of those are still big in the grand scheme. Like you're talking about a professional team, and then you're talking about like the biggest streaming platform and PepsiCo and Cheetos and like Times Square. But this is also, you can take pieces of this and activate this at a local level with obviously less reach and less, big kind of pool. But, if you could find this, if you're in Miami and you do this on a takeover of Calle Ocho, or you do this on a limited scale in some part of the city that you're in, like there are ways to kind of take the insights and see like, cool, how am I activating this region, this space that we're operating in, and how can we like bring it all to life?
Amparo's a great example of that, of the immersion of a brand, like encompassing you into this story, into this universe, like, on a smaller scale, obviously, like, Real Havana Club, shout out, like, on a smaller scale, being able to do this, mind you, backed by Bacardi, but to be able to do this on definitely a smaller scale than PepsiCo, and then Netflix, etc., and to be able to do it on the localized level, as a quote unquote smaller brand, which the Real Havana Club is, like, that's a really good example of how you immerse somebody in the universe, of your brand.
Cool. I think that wraps up. And now to get to like the
there he is,
nitty gritty part.
Valeria said that she was here for this.
Yeah. So
in the comments,
this has definitely been the cause of a lot of controversy for people in the industry, but also just the public in general. It all started with the American Eagle campaign about Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Some took it to the extent of saying that this was, a reference to her being white, her being a woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. Some associated it with kind of like neo-Nazi propaganda, and so there was like extreme
Such a
levels
reach,
of
man.
yeah, which my personal opinion felt like a little bit of a reach because American Eagle also has done collabs with people of all backgrounds and colors. I think the tennis star was Coco Gauff was also featured there. It was another athlete that was of a different background. So it's not like they're isolating and saying like we only work with blonde hair, blue eyed women. It was clearly a play on words and something that they wanted to capitalize on the fact that Sydney Sweeney is hitting an inflection point when it comes to pop culture, and so we thought that was kind of like the end of it, and whatever the controversy came and went, like anything in the media cycle. But then Jimmy Choo tapped her.
Oh wait, there's more.
Yeah, and had this entire campaign. It included her kind of like posing as a ballerina with the Jimmy Choo boots, and you had some people coming out, specifically people that are ballerinas themselves, and you had like this one commenter saying that like her pretending to be a ballerina is so disrespectful to all the women that have been spent their lives learning their craft, just for some quote unquote basic blonde girl to come and pretend to be one of them is shameful. So
Yeah,
it's kind of shocking how much controversy it's stirring, even though it's clear that she's an actress. Like when you act, you pose as something and someone else. So I don't know, like I don't think that there is any egregious act being done here of her. She's styling something by a brand that hired her to do this in an art direction and a kind of direction that they chose. It's not like she's like, I'm going to be wearing it in this outfit doing these things. It's obviously a decision made on the brand's behalf. And just so, yeah, it's just an interesting kind of like conversation because there's so much controversy around it. And I want to take your thoughts before we jump into this one video that kind of sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, my thoughts are really simple. She's young, she's popular, she's hot, she's sexy. That's why they're hiring her. Like it's really that simple. And she's very talented. Like she's a talented actress. She's obviously like her talents are able to be. She's able to step into this like commercial and more like quote unquote, I hate the word influencer style of persona, and she's killing it. That's why they're hiring her. It's very simple. There's no nefarious reasons why these brands, by the way, like that are of all walks of life, with all people from all different points of views and all walks of life and political leanings and all of that type of stuff, especially in the creative space, that are choosing her, okay, to be the representative of the brand. It is literally just that. She moves the needle, just like Cindy Crawford moved the needle in the 90s. I believe I was talking to Valeria the other day, and she had brought that up. Like Cindy Crawford in the 90s. By the way, Beyonce has done a bunch of jean commercials because she moves the needle. J-Lo has moved the needle in 1,000 ways. So you lose me at that this is some sort of like, neo-Nazi play or whatever you want to conjure up, whatever conspiracy you want to conjure up. It's very simple. She is young, she is talented, she is good looking, and she is sexy. And that's it. That is literally it. That is why people are hiring her. She moves the needle. She wore jeans. She's in this Jimmy Choo thing now, which, we were talking about it yesterday. Nobody was talking about ballet the way that they're talking about ballet this week. I guarantee you that. They weren't talking about ballet last week the way that they're talking about ballet this week. I don't remember the last time ballet came out of my mouth. Like how, the last time that I talked about it, outside of when my sister was doing ballet when she was younger. Like so you lose me at that, man. This is really that simple. It's just she moves the needle. She's an influencer that influences. The brands that she's been a part of have had an uptick in sales and foot traffic and different things. And they're going to keep on hiring her for that and for that only. It's very simple.
Yeah. And I think this video, Bima Williams, who does a lot of these kind of breakdowns when it comes to collab between brands and influencers and athletes, like he kind of has an interesting take on this and like poses a question at the end that I think is worth kind of considering. So I'll play this here so people can see it.
Sydney Sweeney has become corporate America's new favorite milk machine. pumping out so many ads, it's starting to feel like acting is just her side hustle. The Cut reported that by August 2025, Sydney had already starred in her 11th ad rollout of the year, Jimmy Choo being the latest one. Meanwhile, Zendaya's playing it cool. In 2025, she's only appeared in 3 major campaigns, 1 with Louis Vuitton and 2 with On. The latter, she won't even acknowledge exists. Now, at this point, Cassie's brand list is longer than her IMDb. This is the attention economy at work. In a fragmented media world, some brands don't care about being selective. They want saturation. Business of Fashion even called her a lightning rod for brand marketing because every campaign with her seems to generate viral chatter, whether that's good, bad, or absurd. And after her controversial American Eagle campaign, the company's stock jumped 18% in a week. Her Dr. Swatch bathwater soap stunt created so much buzz that industry insiders said it boosted the brand's cultural relevance. And that's just as Unilever came calling with a $1.5 billion acquisition. And that's why brands are lining up. Money and PR talks. Exclusivity isn't the only model. If you can stretch across categories, saturation can pay off huge. But saturation has a clock. Momentum now can become backlash later. So collab cousins, what's the right move? Be the selective face of one luxury house like Zendaya or the everywhere at once cash cow like Sydney Sweeney?
So I think it's a great way to wrap it up there because in reality, like, yes, this is capitalizing on the fact that she's popular now and she's relevant now. Like we're going to talk 10 years from now and forget that this even happened. And, 100%. But it doesn't matter. It's really about brands trying to move the needle now, and brands that have big enough of a budget to, pretty much secure her or anyone of that stature to do that. So it really is only for the big players, because like it's not like a local brand or a small regional brand's really going to do it. It's someone that's already on the cusp of being, mega, or someone that's already out there and is a well-known name that wants to like regain relevance or kind of like boost a specific angle of their business, right? So I don't know if you have any other thoughts here before we kind of jump.
That he said it perfectly. It's saturation, and at that point when you're that big, really what you're looking for is just more eyeballs, more brand exposure, more saturation. You want people to continue to talk about you. In Jimmy Choo's case, I can honestly tell you I'm not in the Jimmy Choo demographic or market or anything like that. I don't remember the last time that I said the word Jimmy Choo, but I watched the commercial, and now I've talked about it a lot more in the last couple of days. So I guess that's the point, right? Saturation, making sure that you're relevant again and relevant for that specific or demographic that you're trying to go after. So yeah, it's all about that, man. It's all about saturation. And to your point, it's about the big brands. The big brands are the only ones that can afford this at this point, at her, where she's at her level. And it is what it is. Again, it's very simple, She is what she is, and good for her, by the way. Like, the good for her, as in the marketing, like being a marketer, being an entrepreneur, being like, somebody that I love this for her, man. Like, take advantage of your name, your image, and your likeness right now. Make as much money as you can at the moment, because looks are not going to be everlasting, and at some point, like, you won't be the hot thing. But take advantage of it, and good for her. And everybody should be for that. Women, men, everybody should be for that, and championing and applauding her for being, the best version of her that she can, and making all the money that she can, man. Like, we were talking about the other day, I forgot who I was talking about with, Taylor Swift and the marriage and all this type of stuff, whatever. And the person I was talking to was like, just like, not having it, not for, like, completely against it or whatever the case may be. And they asked me for my opinion, and I'm like, look, I don't listen to Taylor Swift. I don't really care much about Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift to me is like, I barely even know any of her songs. I don't care, but I love what she's doing. She's taking advantage of her popularity. She is a marketing genius. They both are marketing geniuses. Now the brothers, they just came out with a beer company that I just saw today is like a $500 million valuation or some crap like that. Like, good for them. They're taking advantage of the limelight. They're taking advantage of lightning in a bottle, that they're both at the perfect points of their career. They're both hot. They're both at the top of their game. Make as much money as you can, and good for them. That is a playbook in being on the top of your game, and taking advantage of the saturation, taking advantage of the marketing, and understanding how to expose yourself to make money and to monetize. So good for them. I don't care much about it. I'm a football purist. I just want to watch my football. I don't want you to pan to Taylor Swift, but I get why they're doing it, and good for her for getting that publicity. Like I applaud it. It's very simple.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Cool, and that kind of like wraps up the most common, topics that we wanted to dive into and that we felt were relevant when it comes to like branding and marketing. But something that's a little bit more off the cuff, and it's not really brand related, but we think is an interesting thing when it comes to the world of AI was this kind of thing. Yeah, this video came across my feed. It was like a few days ago. I shared it with the team, and they're like, "You definitely got to talk about this. It's so absurd." But I'm gonna actually start with like the original video because it shows like this is a content creator that made this trying to make fun of the nature of a salary negotiation, right? Like you go in and they try and like pry information from you so they can like anchor you to, a certain salary or whatever. So I'll play a little bit of this and I'll play the AI generated / revamped version so you can see what it could do.
What's your salary expectation? What's your budget? We don't have a budget. What's the market rate? A little down at the moment. I believe I bring a lot to the table. Possibly, but it's a pretty standard role. I want to get back to you on this. Well, we'd much rather have an initial number. What's your current salary? Can't say. Sign the NDA.
So that was the original, and then the one I didn't even know about it until I saw this at first, and this was.
What's your salary expectation? What's your budget? We don't have a budget. What's the market rate? A little down at the moment. I believe I bring a lot to the table. Possibly, but it's a pretty standard role. I want to get back to you on this. Well, we'd much rather have an initial number. What's your current salary? Can't say. Sign the NDA.
I probably watched this like 10 times already, so it's just absurd. But tell me which one's more entertaining.
Oh, by far, the alien one, man. It's just not even close.
Not to say that the original isn't entertaining, but it shows that if you have the right use case of AI, the right editing, the right music, it's more than just the AI. Like the editing there was great. The music and the dubbing it, timing it with the thing, and then like kind of like adjusting it so that it could work is what made that what it is. And it just shows like it's night and day between the two. Like one would garnered millions of views, the other one maybe thousands of views. So that just shows like a creative use case for AI as well as other just tools that exist, like any editing tool. But it's really thinking about things this way, especially if it's an entertaining piece of content. It's not like strictly trying to promote a product or anything that's kind of like just trying to sell you. I think these are the kinds of things that creators, brands should be thinking about. Like, how can I take something that A, already existed maybe, or B, like something that we have an idea about, but like, how can we really like upscale it? How can we like add this level of fun and entertainment to it that could really like take it to another level?
Yeah, agreed. Just strictly like on a hook, like the minute that you play the alien one, I'm hooked. Like I want to know what the fuck are these aliens gonna do? What are they gonna say? Like why are they there? Then the music pops in. There was a couple times during the original OG video that like he'll pause or something like that, and I have that feeling of like, I'm gonna swipe. Like you have like that, like what's the next thing gonna be? I'm not really entertained. Whatever. On the alien one, I'm entertained the entire time.
Yeah,
like
you're hooked
the entire time. And by the way, when you sent it to me the other day, I literally watched it like 50 times in a row, and I was cracking up for about an hour straight. Yeah, insane. And it also, there's also like if you dive deeper, you said about refreshing content, like content creators refreshing content, even for brands, like your own content. You know, we talk about this a lot, about the refreshing of content that you've already created, that are already worked at a certain point, and then bringing back to life about a year later or whatever, and refreshing it, remixing it, whatever the case may be. Like brands don't do enough of this, and I think that they should, which is what has worked in the past. Okay. And instead of just like copy paste, put it back up, or whatever the case may be, like do something like this, refresh it, add some flair to it. We talk about all the time as well, like, you know, the creation of sub characters that are attached to your brand, like mascots or whatever the case may be, that are attached to your brand, but not really your brand. You know, you could do something like that. You can get creative with that. So yeah, I think that there's so many like micro points in this video outside of just being entertaining, that anybody can take and brands can take, because it really does showcase like the flexibility that we have nowadays with all the technology that we have, with all the tools that we have, to be able to remix a video that from all intents and purposes was a good video, like it did well, and then remix it to this, you know, crazy, I assume, viral video. So fantastic. Well done. That's a home run on my end.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I agree 100% when it comes to the fact that just because you put something out there once doesn't mean it should die and like never be revisited, especially if it actually had traction. But even if you still felt like there's something there or a piece of it that you can kind of like take out and refresh, remix, do something to it that can really upscale and make it a little bit more entertaining. Again, people should, and brands should be doing more of that, because we're already overloaded with a bunch of new stuff. It's not like you should abandon things just because they've been put out there once, right?
Yeah. Even going back on old content, even going back on old content that like you didn't, let's say like you were you're a sports reporter or whatever, you're in the news, whatever the case may be, like even going back on old content that you were wrong on, like remixing that and making fun not making fun of yourself, but just like not taking yourself too seriously. Like, you know how well that will be received by your consumer, by the end user. Like, people need to remix and talk about and refresh their content more, man. They really do. Yeah.
And like in music, the great hits you listen to over and over again. It's not like okay, I listened to the song once and I'm done with it. You know what I mean? Anyways, moving on, when it comes to AI and like the secondary topic that I wanted to touch base on is like, remember it was sometime last week or the week before, there was like this viral thing going on in the space of AI. It's like, what's this nano banana thing? Like you can go in and upload an image or multiple images and it'll like create a pretty accurate representation of the different references that you give it to compile it and make it, you know, some sort of generated image that you want. And in this case, this user took it to the extreme and put like 13 different images and generated one as a result of it. And his prompt was: a model is posing and leaning against a pink BMW. She's wearing the following items. The scene is against a light gray background. The green alien is a keychain and it's attached to the pink handbag. And the model is also has a pink parrot on her shoulder. And there's a pug sitting next to her wearing a pink collar and gold headphones. And these were all the references. And this is the actual, like, we'll zoom in here so people can see it, but like, it's pretty hard to find a flaw in this, honestly. Like, it looks like the BMW that's referenced here. Like, the jeans are the exact jeans. The model looks like her. She's wearing these glasses that, I mean, it's as close as it can get when it comes to accurately reflecting something. And to me, it just continues, like, as these things come out and as they continue to get better, because it's not like they're going to get worse. They're only going to get refined and compounded on. It's showing that the power from the creative side is being able to visualize and have a almost like an art director or creative director's vision to these things. If you can say, I want them wearing this thing, standing this way in this scene, on this back, like all these, the more details and the way that we do it in turn is like, if you can close your eyes and describe it to someone in detail, then you're in a good spot. Like imagine if you were blind, or if you closed your eyes and you had to like describe it to someone, and if you can do it in such detail that they can visualize it vividly, then you're in a good spot, because you can now feed that into an AI platform, especially if you give it visual references, and it will start giving you pretty damn close reflections of what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think across the board, you know, you always say it's about the prompt, it's about understanding. You were just saying it's about the prompt, it's about understanding how to talk to it, how to feed it what you want the outcome to be, and using it as a tool, not as something that's taking over your work. You know, I was looking up some stats today because we were talking about AI, and I think as a business, you know, shameless plug for Cultura Creative, but as a business, I think that and Cultura House in general, we're doing a very good job of balancing art and creative and the traditional connection that there is to that, right? To art and to being a creative and to creating things, but also balancing that with technology and AI and what's coming out, and being able to utilize it as a way of getting our stuff out there quicker, better, and just more efficient, and helping us in the process. And I did some quick stats. 71% of the CMOs plan to spend 10 million on AI annually by 2026. Okay, but specifically, it's not just AI and not just the technology, but people that know how to manage AI, which is a really big caveat. And it is to your point. If all this technology comes in and nobody knows how to use it, it was just like the internet. It was just like anything. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't know how to prompt it. It doesn't matter if you don't know how to feed it exactly what you need. Storytelling lives on and will live on very, very, very much in this next 5, 10, 15-year sprint of AI. Storytelling will be the key to all of this. If you understand how to get the end result, this is just an extra tool for you to get that result better and faster and quicker and more efficient. That's it. And this is insane. And I don't dive into this part of it as much as you do, because you're the creative freak, you know, and I don't have the patience, just like I'm sure you don't have the patience on some other ends that I have, but I don't have the patience. I get annoyed at prompting it because that's not my skill set. But the way that it's helped me personally on my end, on the business side of things, and on creating things and creating ideas and creating ways to get from point A to point Z, and helping me think tank things like across the board. If you're not embracing this, and if you're not, you know, really understanding how to use this in your day-to-day life, no matter what you are, creative, whatever you're doing, I think you're going to be left not understanding things in the next 5 to 10 years, because it's really about managing this. This is brilliant, you know. And again, kudos to you, kudos to the other insane creators at Cultura. The way that you guys understand how to feed this and prompt this and understand how to create this in this very style, like this gentleman did or person did, is insane. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. You know, this was what Google's banana or whatever.
Nano Banana is the name of the
Nano
model.
Banana.
Actually, what's interesting is that it's so good, and I guess that they already had this kind of lined up. So Adobe has their own AI platform called Firefly, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you open up Adobe Firefly now, it now allows you to choose Google's Gemini Nano Banana as a model to use to generate. So it leapfrog is like, Adobe was trying to do it all on their own, and they're like, screw it, we're also gonna like link up other models, because they realize like we're not built to keep up with this level of where the technology's at. In the sense of like, we don't want to say it's only ours or nothing. It's like it's ours plus all these other ones, and may the best winner win. And over time they might fade out theirs, or they might just keep it there as an option. But this kind of like has been taking these things by storm, because now it's like integrated to some of the tools that creatives use on a daily basis. So So there's that. And I
Uh,
mean,
and it's on every level. You know, I was meeting with the back end team earlier, and Rafa was showing me an app that he came across that is basically like it kind of just it's a you throw it what you need an AI to do, and then it'll prompt you to certain AIs that will do that very thing. And it's almost like an ecosystem, like a, you know, I'm losing the word, but an ecosystem of how to you know put you in front of the AI specifically that you need. And that's where we're going, you know, and that's where we're going. And on the back end, we see it every single day, the way that YouTube, the way that all these big social platforms are utilizing it and encompassing it. The way that search has changed, like all of this stuff is changing on a daily basis.
Yeah. I know that we're a little bit over the hour mark, but we're not like holding on to.
Okay, this is fun, man.
Yeah, but kind of like to bring it back to, again, if you can have all these tools in the world, but if you don't have a process or you don't understand the actual core discipline of what it takes to analyze a brand and figure out where to take it and how to really like move forward with these kind of things in mind, like we wanted to touch on, at least for anyone who's sticking around, is when it comes to our process and the way that we kind of go about a brand coming to us that needs help. Like these are the three key things we always do, is trying to understand what stage you're in and deciding based on that stage, like, are you launching a new brand? Like, is it from ground zero, or are you an existing brand and you've kind of lost your way and you need a refresh and you need to kind of like revert and bring some new relevance to the brand? Or are you an established brand? You're doing fine, but you're extending and doing an expansion of the brand into a new category, into like a new area that you aren't as familiar with. So like understanding that is important. And you have
yeah. Also I think within that, an important take too is also like, what stage are you at within those things, right? Like, are you trying to build brand awareness? Like, are you just, I don't know why. Oh, because I did this.
The hand gesture.
On me. That is so cool. Talking about AI. Jeez.
Yeah.
Are you trying to build brand awareness? Are you trying to convert? Are you in need of conversion and sales and building your revenue? Or are you, you know, are you there for continuing to build your community and retain that community that you've already built through your conversion? So really also diving into that, status, if you will, of your business is very important to kind of piggyback off what you were saying.
Yeah. And then really the last two things here when it comes to the brand identity process, you can understand the stage, but then you have to understand the business itself. Like, I guess early on in my career, when I would approach a project, I kind of just like get the necessary, quote unquote, necessary information to move forward with the project, but not truly understanding the business and where it's at. Like, how does it operate? What are your core services? And like, what are the things that are your primary sellers versus things that are upsells? Like understanding the business and really the economics behind it. Like, what is your margin on these products? So like, should we be selling more of this versus that to truly drive you towards the goals that you want to achieve? Because ultimately, like, it could be a great campaign and people could like recall that it was cool and creative, but if it didn't push the needle, then it was wasted money. It was all for the sake of entertainment. And that's not what this is for. Like, this is for a business to actually make a profit or to achieve a goal as a result of it. And so that second part is very crucial. And then after that is understanding the industry they're in. Like, are you a challenger brand that you're like trying to punch up and, you know, make a name for yourself amongst a sea of like big Goliaths in there? Or are you like an established brand that you're like, damn, they're eating away at us. How do we like reestablish our position in the market? And within that thing is like, who are your customers? Are they like newer people that you're trying to tap into, or is it people that lost their way and you're trying to re-engage with? Like, understanding that part of it is very important. So like those three things are all crucial in just getting to the point of like, if we're doing anything with your brand, we need to know these things and we need to dive into it. And that's really like at the core of, you know, what we do. So
yeah, that's been like personally, that's been my biggest breakthrough, I would say, within the last like 3 to 5 years, professionally as a marketer and in this industry is really understanding the fact that you need to, as a marketing company, you're coming in as a partner to the business. Like it doesn't matter what business you're coming into. You're coming in as a partner, and you need to understand. And this goes both ways, by the way. You need to understand the nuts and bolts of what makes that business tick, what's making that business money, where revenue is at, where your profit, where your loss is at, and really understanding the nuts and bolts of the business. And as a business, you have to be comfortable enough and understand that when you are bringing in a marketing department and you are bringing in a team, that they need to know these numbers. Because in order to it's like going to the doctor, man. Like you can't go to the doctor and lie to the doctor. You can't go to the doctor and tell them that you're taking one prescription when you're taking 8 different prescriptions. Like you need to be open to the doctor. You need to let the doctor know exactly what you have and what you're going through. Because if not, the doc is going to sit there and prescribe you something or think that you have something that you may not. And it's the same thing with the marketing department. Like, and this is specifically for brands. As you bring a marketing department in, and it could be us, it could be whoever. This is more, advice than anything else. Is like, you need to be okay. You need to be open with the business that you're bringing in, and let them in and let them know what's happening, what's working, what's not working. What are your leaders? What are your lost leaders? Like, where are you at, so that they can prescribe a game plan that makes sense for you and that is not going to render you bankrupt within 8 months. That did a great job. Yeah, there was I don't know how many eyeballs on you within those 8 months. You did it, you had a major social impact, but it just didn't move the needle. And it did move the needle, but you lost money, which has happened in many cases. I've been parts of businesses that has been the case, that sales have been great, but your margins suck. There is no marketing money, and you're just burning through cash. And I think, that is a really important part. And to your point, just a part of my trajectory as again in this industry that has been really a game changer for me, is the process that we do, that we go through even before we meet with a brand. Like, we already have a doc ready to go with 5, 6, 7 different tabs of marketing research and understanding the market that brand is in, and doing research on the brand, and kind of tying it back to AI, like understanding how to utilize the tools that we have, being able to look into these markets that we wouldn't have had insight into 5, 10 years ago, to be able to dive in and understand the market that you're in, even before that first meeting. And understand like where you may be as a brand and where you may be financially as a brand, even going into that first meeting. So yeah, that's a massive piggyback off to what you were saying, but I think it's really important, because that makes or break. And again, it doesn't need to be us. It's really anybody, any marketing department that you're bringing in, or any consultation, or whatever the case that you're going to have. Like, you need to be as open and as transparent with that marketing department as possible, because they're only going to be able to. It's only a win-win situation if you are. It really is.
Yeah. And I think for anyone that stuck around, I wanted to at least take a few minutes to show a glimpse into our process, especially when it comes to doing a brand identity. And, one example we have here for a recent brand we've been working on is actually a specialty coffee roaster that's launching here in South Florida called Session.
Shout out, Bobby.
Yeah, shout out to Bobby Gilardi for launching this brand. And, just a glimpse at a glance what we do when it comes to, this is what we do for the brand discovery workshop. So after we've asked those questions, done our research, and like had a few kind of back and forth conversations, we jump into one of these sessions that usually takes about 1 to 2 hours to go through. But it's really like diving into things. And our agenda here is like, we align, we distill what we know based on those earlier conversations, and then we go into some exercises like revealing questions and something that we call more like this or that, where we position 2 different kind of motifs or styles, and see like you have to lean to one more over the other. It's not like you have to be 100% one way, but you at least have to like take a decision, which, going back to some of the stuff that we discussed, like when you choose someone like a Sydney Sweeney, you're making a decision as a brand, and you're going to ostracize some people as a result, but you're also going to attract other people. And I think that's the most powerful thing that brands need to understand. Like, you cannot be for everyone unless you want to just be a general public kind of brand, like, Walmart, white label brand that just great value, like nothing special about it. You're not going to like step on anyone's toes. It's just, it is what it is. But
riches in the niches, man.
Yeah, when you're not that, you have to take stances and you have to pick sides and you have to define yourself, especially with the advent of so many brands launching and saturation happening. How are you going to stand out? So these things help us get down that path. And so I'll glance over some of these things. Like when it comes to aligning, it's just kind of like everyone, all the decision makers sit down, including ourselves, and say like, what is our goal from this workshop? What can we try and take away from it, right? Once we distill that, we also go into the information that we've been, talking about beforehand in different documents and different meetings. Like you're launching a specialty coffee brand, your primary customer will be X, Y, or Z. In this case, there'll be a B2B side, but there also will be a B2C side. So there is a duality when it comes there. And it's good to understand these things because it could determine how you go about positioning and messaging and visually representing that brand, right? And really the fun part here is when we get to these brand exercises. And this sequence of questions is called revealing questions, right? And one of these is like, kill your darlings. What don't you want session to become? Like, what don't you want your brand to represent or be like, right? Are there any cliches, any aesthetics, any tones? Is there anything that you don't want to be like, right? Two brands make love and sessions a child. Like, so what two brands would be the love child or like the hybrid of those two? And you kind of have those questions, right? So we go through a series of these things, even things like music, right? If you had a playlist, what would be the songs or the genres that would represent that brand, right? And these are things, they're creative exercises that help us kind of like get in the frame of mind. It's like, if you listen to this kind of music and your brand would be playing this, so what's the vibe inside and what are the actual decisions on the design level from interior to color to all these things, the mood you want to represent. These things kind of at least start giving us little territories for us to explore. And so that's why we ask them, and we kind of put people in a position to think of their brand as a persona and personify it so that you can, start going down these different pathways. And then
I think it's important real quick to bookmark this because when we first did this, sometimes it's long and but the end result and understanding where we're at as in marketing and whatnot, like the fact that these questions are relevant to the end result. Whereas like now, we have sonic branding for session for the brand. Like we understand what not only the brand looks like, but it also how it interacts with the consumer, but also how it sounds. And that's really freaking important to be able to give that 360 approach to a brand. So kudos to you to be diving into this so early on because it's so important. And it might be looked over for a lot of brands, but it really is important and it does a huge impact at the end of it with all these brands, especially, with session and going through this process. Yeah.
And especially like if going back to like that example of the AI video with the aliens, like the music choice there would be a different music choice for this brand based on the answers that we got, right? Probably be more boom bop hip hop or jazz or like something that's a hybrid. And so those are things that you associate your brand with, and it paints the whole picture. It's the entire package. It's not just the logo you slap on and wear a hat and say, if you walk out of your house with just a hat and you're naked, like that doesn't make you the brand. It's the shirt, the way you style it, the way you compose yourself, the way you talk to people. It's all of it. So,
and it may not even be an alien. It may be another character.
It might not be an alien. It might be an alligator.
Exactly. Correct.
So, and then even here, when we go down this, it's not like I do cookie cutter, questions when it comes to position. We find what the industry it's in and certain little things that are in there, and then make these questions more contextual to that brand. In this case, are you more of like a ceramic mug or are you more of like a glossy glass mug? And those kind of things start putting you in a position and you start visually starting to see how this brand could be reflected in the world, right? So again, other things like even, are you more like this brand or that brand? Mm-hmm. Are you more like a curated coffee table or a vinyl record that's kind of assorted more loosely? So again, snapshots of these kinds of questions. And at the end, we also ask about attributes, like how would your community, your customers describe you? And then you would flip it and say, how would you describe your customers and your audience? And these kind of things all start helping us carve out things like a brand statement and like an ethos that we build out. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch upon is like, we go in and we start doing design research. I start mood boarding a bunch of stuff. At a glance, it's a bunch of things that I built here, as well as like on Pinterest boards and other places where I house some of these things and I organize them here. But ultimately, what comes out of this is 3 different directions, which we call stylescapes. And from there, we get to decide like almost like territories or directions a brand can go into. Like one of them we called urban ritual, where it has a little bit more of these like bold typefaces, but it mixes old world and new world. It has a little bit of a sophisticated edge. Like I can zoom in here so you could sort of see at a glance what we're talking about. There's a certain level of the edginess here, like irreverence, right? Like you're eating a good meal, but you're sitting outside, street side, and there's no fancy chairs or anything. It's just about the quality of the food and the meal. Same thing here with typography and the bold pops of color. Like you can start to see where this brand and the world that it could be built into with the kind of layout, with the kind of design and aesthetics that you start seeing. Same thing with the other direction that we called swamp modern, right? More warmer tones, but also like earthier tones, the greens and the browns and the yellows and the oranges and all these things that bring it like things that give an homage to like the Florida Everglades and kind of like the environment that we're in, right? There's definitely a little bit more of like naturalism and a little bit of mysticism in this one, right? And so it's combining a lot of these things and seeing like how we can put it into a certain world that we're trying to build and see if that's the best kind of way to position the brand. And like the last one here we called Sunset Sound System, has a little bit more of like punk rap music, but bolder colors, a little bit more of like expressive, what we call funkadelic, because like the music taste is a little bit of a mashup. You know, there's definitely a lot. There's more humor here, right? Like just like not taking yourself as seriously and breaking the rules a little bit. So these are the kinds of things that we do, and it's a result of all the other questions and exercises we do before we even get here. So it's like understand, dig deep, and then start going and finding the things that you need to build the vessel ultimately to build the final thing to launch it into the world. So, and then the last snapshot I guess I'll give here is like what we finally ended up on
at a session, baby.
Yeah. So this is the kind of like word mark that we ended up going with for them, as well as like other expressions like how does it look in the monogram, secondary marks that you could see on merch and other little tertiary things that could live in different, you know, contextual placements within the brand. Same thing with the typography decisions that were made here, the color palette, even other brand and graphic elements that we could use, right? Like these could be patterns, it could be subtle things that live on the edges or just kind of like little patterns and textures that kind of fill out and add to the identity. As you see here is one example of it. You know, the voice and tone, that's important to know, like how you speak in the world, whether it's a caption or a headline or any kind of like messaging that goes out into the world. And textures, you know, ceramic, craft paper, recycled paper, kind of that naturalism. You can tell we went with that second direction here, as well as like the swamp elements of, you know, the flora, the fauna, the trees, the plants that you would see in something like the Everglades or wetlands. And just like kind of snapshots of things that we've put together here. So you can see at a glance, you know, what we do. And then here is almost like a mock-up of what the brand could look like on a social, you know, platform like Instagram. So just showing how the brand could look as big as the full word mark and then as small as the little icon you see on an Instagram profile, and bringing it all together is always like a part of what's the whole ecosystem essentially. And as we mentioned, you know, exploring the idea of like even characters and a mascot per se. And so this is still something that we're workshopping and trying to bring to life, but the brand is pretty much in the launch phase. And these are all the things that took, you know, over a month to kind of consolidate and bring together. But wanted to give you guys a snapshot of that stuff. And we can always dive deeper into this, especially if anyone has questions and other episodes that we do. But this is at the core of why we have these discussions, because like we're passionate about this. This is all about, you know, what it takes to build a brand, what it takes to reposition it if it needs to be repositioned, and just all the layers from the visual identity to the voice to anything else that represents the brand in the world. And that's just kind of like at the core of what we do at Cultura and what I love doing as well. So you know, I think that'll wrap it up. But JC, I don't know if you have any other questions here or any other comments that you wanted to.
Just to wrap this up, I think, you know, you fucking killed it on this, and this was amazing going through this entire process with you. you've been doing this for a long time, and to be able to go through this process with you a couple times, and we're already, I think, seasoned as a team, but to be able to see you go through your process and to incorporate some of that into like what I do, and us merge as a team. This was a great. This was really cool to see you flex your muscles, and you did a great job. Bobby was also amazing, and I want to give him his shout out as well. Like as a client, I mean, you can't really draw up a better type of client and partner really in what we're doing. Like amazing. So appreciate him. But the way that I think, like, and full transparency, we're also doing their marketing. So this is a really cool client because we've been able to, from brand inception, from literally the idea that was in Bobby's head, to be able to sit down with him, put this on paper, put this together, and then also now start to, as you see the last slide, start to take this into the a go-to-market campaign, a strategy, a voice, a tone. How is this going to feel on socials? How is this going to feel on whatever he creates? Yeah, packaging, activations, his B2B campaign, all this type of stuff. So really cool to be able to do this with brands that you don't get the opportunity every single day, because it's just the way that the ecosystem works. And sometimes you're just launching the brand and then you kind of just let them go. And then sometimes you're picking up a brand that needs a refresh or whatever the case may be. And you're doing their month-to-month marketing. So really cool to be able to be in this entire process with this brand. But yeah, I think this just showcases, and to wrap it up, the strengths that we have as a business on the creative side, but also like how we're able to bridge the gap from creative to conversion, and now go to market and understanding what that strategy is. I know we're working on his B2B, we're working on his B2C, and that go to market strategy. So for us to be able to flex our muscles on a brand like this, really cool. And again, I think, to revert it back, and we'll have Bobby on, I hope, at some point, so that he could talk about his, his reciprocation into the work and the feelings. But to have a client like that, to be able to like be open and transparent and understand that he has to be open and transparent and understand those type of processes and communications that need to be had, like really cool, and shout out to Bobby. So yeah, just wanted to kind of wrap up with that and give Bobby his flowers, and give yourself your flowers, man. You really killed it with this brand, and you kill it every single day with everything we do at Cultura. So I appreciate you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and obviously we cut a lot of corners in showing the entire process, but we wanted to just give people a peek into the kinds of things that we do and our thinking when it comes to this, and why we go into these kind of conversations anyway, because we're not just thinking about the brand at the logo level. We're thinking about, like, how does this convert into a campaign? How does this, leverage into an activation? And all those things we're thinking about the world. We're thinking about how it lives in the world. And we firmly believe in the idea of like brands as living identities and living personas, because it's not like you put something out once and it's done. Like that's not how this works. You have to be active, you have to evolve, you have to find ways to maintain relevance. And these are all the kinds of things that we think about and talk about internally. And so hopefully if you tuned in, you got a little bit of insight into that, and we'll be doing this on a bi-weekly basis with new trends and new updates and things that light up our feed, as well as projects and elements of projects that we're working on. So thanks again to everyone that tuned in, and hopefully you'll tune in for the next one. But have a awesome rest of your weekend, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it, man. This was awesome.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
Have a good one.